All right, so we're going to do 7-1 day 2 today. So please go ahead and take a second, pause the video, and find the first two questions. So that would be g of -6 and f of x minus 9. So we're going to go ahead and go over these two now. G of -6 means I would have just plugged in -6 here. So we would have -6 minus 9, which would have given me -15. Now on the next one, when I plug in x minus 9, we get x minus 9 squared plus 7 times x minus 9 plus 12. Hopefully we remembered this means we need to FOIL x minus 9 here. And we get 7x minus 63 plus 12. The first part ends up being x squared, and this would be minus 18x and then plus 81. And then we have plus 7x minus 63 plus 12. Okay, the only thing left to do is combine like terms, right? So obviously my final answer, we have x squared, then we have negative 18 plus 7, which is negative 11, then 81 minus 63 plus 12 ends up giving us 30. Okay, so we're going to focus on the composition side of it. So we're going to focus on Fogg and Goff. Okay, so remember that expressions can be represented either way. So it could be the Fogg of x, or it could be f of g of x. Okay, personally, I think that this way is easier to see and know what to do with. So I always put it in that form before I do anything with it. Okay, you don't have to go that route though. So this first example says, let's find g of f of 0. So we always want to start with the inside. So we're going to find f of 0 first. So if I want to find f of 0, that means I plug in. So I get 0 squared minus 0 plus 3, aka it's 3, right? So then we're going to take that and we're going to plug it in there. So we're really finding g of 3. Well, g of x is x plus 2, so we have 3 plus 2, which is 5 as my final answer. On the next one, it's in the other form, so like I said, I always like to change it first. So we have f of g of -1. And then it's easier for me to see, okay, I'm finding g of -1 first. So g of -1 would be -1 plus 2, which is 1. So we're taking +1, and plugging it in here to tell us that we are actually finding f of 1. So again, we have x squared minus x plus 3, which is really 1 minus 1 plus 3, which gives me 3. So final answers are 5 and 3 here. Okay, so we are going to do basically the same thing here. And I don't want you to really worry about this in words. So this first one, we put together a little chart for you, and maybe the chart is something you want to use. I don't use it, but you might. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and plot, or we're going to put these in the chart. Okay, so f of x is going to go there. 1, 3, 2, 5, 3, 4, 4, 6, 5, -5. Then we're going to do the same thing with this next one, and it's -5, 6, 3, 8, 4, 9, 5, -10, and 6, 1,000. Okay. So they want you to find f of 1 to start. Well, f of 1 is going to be 3. Okay, because 1 is the x, 3 is the y. If I wanted to find g of -5, well, I just look here. Oh, -5 gives me 6. So that is going to be 6. Okay. Now, okay. So we want to find Fogg and Goff of the following. So the first one we're going to find is Fogg. Okay. So I always write it as f of g of x. Okay. So the reason why I do that is because then that tells me g of x is where I'm starting, okay? So I'm going to start with negative 5, okay? So negative 5 gives me 6. Is there any 6 as an x in f of x? No, there's a 6 as a y, but not as an x. So f of negative 5, or negative 5 doesn't work. So then we move on to 3. Well, g of 3 gives me 8. Then we look, well, there's no 8 in f of x, so that also doesn't work. Then we go to 4. 4 gives me 9. There is no 9, so that one doesn't work. 5 gives me negative 10. There is no negative 10. And then 6 gives me 1,000. 1,000 isn't there, so we're done. If you notice, this is the same one as before, right? So this one would have no solution. There's nothing that works. But when we go to Goff, as you saw before, this one has some that work. So now we're looking at f of x first. So 1 gives me 3. Well, 3 gives me 8. So that means I get the point 1, 8. Then we move on to the next one. 2 gives me 5. Well, 5 gave me negative 10. So 2, negative 10. Then we have a 3. 3 gives me 4. 4 gives me 9 in g of x. So that point is 3, 9. Then we have 4. 4, 6. 6, 1,000. So we have the point 4, 1,000. And then we have 5, negative 5. Well, negative 5 gives me 6. So we have 5, 6. Okay, so notice how one gave me no solution, it gave me no points, whereas the other one, every single one worked. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to letter B. Okay, not always will one of them not work. So this one, they might both work. Again, I think it's much easier to see it when it's f of g of x. So that means you're starting with g of x. So if we start with g of x, we have 0. 0 goes to 1. 1 goes to 3. So 0, 3. Then we have 1 to negative 6. Well, there is no negative 6. Then we have 3, 5. There is no 5. 4, 8. Oh, 8 goes to 1. So my point is 4, 1. 5, 6. 6 goes to 4. So we have 5, 4. So then we start the process over again, but this time as Goff. So g of f of x. So if we start with f of x, because that's the one on the inside, 1 goes to 3, 3 goes to 5, so 1, 5. 2 to 7, there is no 7, so we can't use that point. 6 to 4, 4 to 8, so 6, 8. Then we have 8 to 1, 1 to negative 6, so 8, negative 6. So this one, you had 3 for your fog, 3 for your Goff. I personally feel like throwing it into a chart makes it more difficult, but feel free to draw those out if that makes more sense to you. That's totally fine. Now, suppose you didn't have numbers to plug in and we just want to plug in expressions. So what is fog and what is Goff? So in this case, fog is still f of g of x. So now instead of putting something in for x and then putting whatever your result is in for y, or into f of x, I'm sorry, we are just going to plug this whole function into f of x for our x. So we're going to take 5 minus x and we're going to plug it in right there. So we now have 2 times our new x, which is 5 minus x, and we're going to square it, minus 3. Now, hopefully we remember that means that we need to write it twice. 5 minus x, 5 minus x. in FOIL. So we get 2 and then times. If we FOIL this out and combine like terms, we would get 25 minus 10x plus x squared. Now don't forget to distribute that 2. So we would get 50 minus 20x plus 2x squared, minus 3. And let's go ahead and put this in standard form. So 2x squared minus 20x and then plus 47. This is what fog of x would be. So we're going to do the same process in the next one. If I wanted to find GOF, that is g of f of x. So that means I'm taking f of x and I'm plugging it in for x into our g of x. So g of x is 5 minus f of x. Well, f of x is 2x squared minus 3. And remember, I would always put it in as parentheses because then you can see I need to distribute this negative. So this turns into 5 minus 2x squared plus 3. And in standard form, negative 2x squared plus 8. Okay, you can't have that in other orders, but standard form is the typical one. Okay, so this is a huge concept moving forward. We are going to have to use FOG and GOF to help us in the next section. So make sure that we get a good handle over this. Okay, I would try to practice these on your own before you watch me do it because I am going to go kind of fast. So in number 1, f of g of x. So obviously I'm taking g of x and plugging it in for f. So this would be 3 times 2x squared minus 5 minus 4. We would distribute the 3 and get 6x squared minus 15 minus 4, which reduces to 6x squared minus 19. Our next one is the reverse, so g of f of x. So we're going to plug it in. We get 2 times 3x minus 4 squared minus 5. Again, anytime you have a binomial squared, we need to FOIL it. So we get 2 and then 9x squared, and this would be minus 24x plus 16. And we get 18x squared minus 48x plus 32 minus 5. Final answer, 18x squared minus 48x plus 27. Our next one, we're involving h of x. Okay, no difference. This is just Hoff. No difference here. So we're plugging in f of x into our h. Okay, so this one was extra work because now we have 3x minus 4 squared. And then we also need to do it again and distribute. So again, if we FOIL this, we got 9x squared minus 24x plus 16. Then we would have 9x minus 12 minus 4. We would combine like terms and get 9x squared minus 15x. And this would end up giving me 16 minus 12, which is 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. So this would be my final answer. So our last one is f of h of x. So that means we're taking h of x and we are going to plug it in for x into f of x. Okay. So we this time have way less work because it's just 3 times x squared plus 3x minus 4 minus 4. So this time we're just distributing a 3. We don't have to FOIL. 3x squared plus 9x minus 12 minus 4. So 3x squared plus 9x minus 16. Okay. Now again, these are longer processes. I think the hardest part about it is to make sure that you're plugging in the right stuff. Okay.